Hi, I'm Chad.
And I'm Kelly.
And
this
this
is
is
Success with Chad and Kelly.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for a deep dive into something pretty amazing. We're talking about living a good life, and you know what? You found some incredible material on this Harvard study of adult development.
Oh, yes, legendary.
I know, right? I mean, think about this. They followed the same people for over 80 years. 80 years to figure out the secret to happiness.
It's dedication.
No kidding. And here's the thing, this study, it kind of throws a wrench in our usual ideas about what makes us happy. We usually think, great job, big house, maybe a fat bank account, that's the good life.
Yeah, it's so easy to think that way, you know?
Yeah.
Those external things, we're kind of programmed to chase them.
Totally. But here's where the Harvard study gets really interesting. They started off tracking these Harvard grads, figuring those guys had it made, right? The success, the achievements must equal happiness. And while it's true, those grads, they did tend to live longer than a similar group from tougher backgrounds. Get this, their fancy degrees weren't the reason why.
Yeah, that's the thing. It all came down to something much more, essential. It was their relationship.
Hold on, are you serious? You mean like having friends actually makes you live longer?
It seems crazy, right?
Hmm.
But the study found those close, supportive connections, they were the strongest predictor of not just happiness, health, and longevity, too.
Wow, okay, so it's not just about feeling good, it's about like our physical health too. That's wild.
It really is. It all comes down to how our bodies, how they react to, being connected or not. Like loneliness, it's a sneaky one. It acts like this constant stressor, almost like your body's stuck in fight or flight mode.
I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, when you're lonely, those stress hormones, they're through the roof.
Yeah.
And that causes inflammation. And over time, that does some real damage. Heart, immune system, everything takes a hit.
You know, it's funny because haven't we all had those moments where we felt like lonely or disconnected, especially lately?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the pandemic, it was rough. Really
Yeah.
brought this whole loneliness thing into the spotlight.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was a problem long before 2020. And here's the kicker. It's not about having a ton of friends or followers on social media. This study, it shows that even just one or two really close relationships can make a world of difference.
So it's about quality over quantity when it comes to friends.
Exactly. It's about having those people you can always rely on no matter what. Having them, it's like this safety net for life. Like you always have someone in your corner.
Yeah. There's people you can call in the middle of the night if you need to. Everyone needs that. It's not about just having a ton of friends, right? It's more about having those really solid connections, like those friends that are always there for you no matter what.
Exactly. It's like having a go-to crew,
Yeah, those friends that are like family makes you realize how important it is to make time for those relationships, right?
It really does. It's like, you know how we need to hit the gym to stay in shape physically? Well, it's kind of the same deal with our relationships.
Okay, I like that. Like social fitness. Got to stay in shape socially.
Exactly. It's all about social fitness. Just like going to the gym keeps you physically fit. We need to put time into our relationships too, to build them up and, to keep them strong. And the best part is you don't need a fancy gym membership for this.
Right, I'm sold. Social fitness it is. But where do we even start? Life gets so crazy busy, it's easy to let those connections slip, even when we don't mean to.
Oh, I know what you mean. Life has a way of doing that, right? But even those small things, those little efforts we make, they can make a big difference, if you're consistent. It's like, think about when you work out. If you're hitting the gym regularly, you start seeing results. It's the same with relationships.
So consistency is key, just like with anything else we're trying to improve.
Exactly. And, I think the first step is just being aware. Take a minute. Think about your relationships right now. Are there any important people you've kind of been neglecting? Anyone you've been meaning to reach out to? Maybe someone who's been on your mind lately?
You know what? Now that you mention it, there is someone, this old friend, I haven't talked to them in ages. Life just got in the way, I guess. We kind of drifted apart.
We've all been there, right? But here's a little challenge for you and for anyone listening, actually. Why not send that friend a quick message today?
Yeah, why not?
It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a quick, hey, thinking about you, or how have you been? Can go a long way.
I love that. Sometimes we overthink these things. It's so simple, just sending a quick message.
It really is. Just taking that first step. You'd be surprised how often it can rekindle a friendship.
I'm going to do it, seriously. Consider it done. Speaking of connecting with people, what about making new friends? I bet the Harvard study has something to say about that, too.
You bet they did. Actually, they found some really interesting stuff about that. Like, for example, doing things with other people. shared activities.
Mm,
Turns out that's a fantastic way to meet your people.
makes sense. Find things you love, and chances are you'll meet others who love them too.
Exactly. It's about finding your tribe.
Yeah.
Those people who get you, share your interests. And it doesn't even have to be this huge time commitment. Even if you join a group that meets just once a month, that can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
And don't forget about volunteering.
Ah, volunteering. Such a good one.
It really is. Helping others, it's not just incredibly rewarding, but it's also a natural way to connect with people who, you know, they want to make a difference too, just like you.
Okay, so this is all starting to feel a lot more doable. It's about being proactive, making that effort. But what about those folks who think it's, I don't know, maybe too late for them? People who've gone through a divorce or moved to a new city just feel a little lost socially. What did the study say about finding those connections later in life?
That's a really good question. It's easy to think you've missed the boat on making those strong connections when you get older, but this Harvard study, it actually gives us a lot of hope about that.
Really? I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay, so one of the coolest things they found was that it's seriously never too late to build those meaningful connections.
Wow.
Get this, they even had people in the study who found their very best friends after they retired.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right. Life's full of surprises like that. You
Mm.
can always make positive changes in your social life, no matter how old you are.
That is incredibly reassuring to hear. It's like no matter what stage of life you're in, there's always that chance to connect with people, to build those relationships. This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. It's crazy how easy it is to get caught up in everything, always wanting more, working more. But this conversation, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's a good reminder that what really matters are those connections, having a purpose, things like that.
I hear you. Speaking of building a good life, there are a few more things from this Harvard study that you might find pretty interesting. They really get into what happiness really is and what it looks like, which, let me tell you, isn't always what we expect.
Okay, now you've got me curious. Tell me everything. What else did they find about, living a really fulfilling life?
So one thing that really stuck with me was this idea, nobody's happy all the time. Life throws curveballs, right? You've got your good times, tough times, successes, failures. It's all part of the ride. And that's okay.
It's so true. It's like that saying, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. We all have our own stuff going on.
Exactly. And in this day and age, with social media and everything, it's easy to compare yourself to others. We see everyone's highlight reels, all the good stuff, none of the hard stuff. It can make you feel like you're not good enough or like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But the truth is, everyone goes through tough times.
Yeah.
That's just part of being human.
It's so important to remember that we'd all be better off if we were a little kinder to ourselves, and to each other. Everyone's just trying to figure things out as they go.
Couldn't agree more. And remember those folks who were talking about earlier, the ones who found their people later in life. This study, it's full of stories of people making big changes, positive changes in their 70s, 80s, even older. It just goes to show it's never too late to learn, to change, to find your people, your purpose. And speaking of growth and change, you mentioned something before about your marriage. You were talking about how you and your wife support each other, even when you're on different paths. It made me think about how important it is to have that acceptance in a relationship, that ability to grow and evolve together. Do you think you could maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, my wife and I, we've been together a long time. And over the years, well, we've both kind of gone in different directions with some things. For example, when we first got married, I wasn't into Zen meditation at all. It wasn't until later that it became a big part of my life.
That's quite a shift.
Yeah, it really was. And my wife, she's not really into meditation, but, she sees how much it means to me, how much it helps me, and she's totally supportive.
It speaks volumes. It's about showing up for each other through good times and bad,
Yeah.
and giving each other the space to grow and change. Because really, at the end of the day, that's what relationships are all about, right? Evolving together, but still respecting each other's individuality.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This whole conversation has been so insightful. I feel like I'm walking away with this renewed sense of hope, knowing that connection is so key, but also that it's something we can actually work on no matter where we are in life. Like you said, it's all about that social fitness.
It really is. So as you kind of think about everything we've talked about today, I'll leave you with one last thought. How is your social fitness looking these days? What's one small thing you could do, maybe even today, to connect with someone or reach out to someone you care about?
That is a great question. And on that note, thank you all so much for joining us for this deep dive into what it really means to live a good life. Remember, it's all about those connections. Take care, everyone.